One day, you will not be in the room. Not late. Not busy. Not quiet in the corner. Not sitting at the table while others talk around you. Gone. And the strange thing is, life will continue. The morning will still come through the windows. Cars will still pass outside. Phones will still light up. Bills will still arrive. Children will still make plans. Grandchildren will still grow. Someone will still stand in a kitchen, open a cabinet, and reach for a cup without thinking. But somewhere, your absence will become part of the air. A chair will feel different. A room will feel quieter. A name will be spoken more softly. A photo will become more important than it used to be. A voicemail may be played again. A jacket may stay hanging longer than necessary because no one is ready to move it. A tool in the garage may suddenly feel sacred because your hands once held it. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to make the rest of your life honest. Because after 50, a man eventually begins to understand something he avoided when he was younger. One day, people will only have what you left behind. Not what you meant to say. Not what you almost repaired. Not what you planned to become later. Not the love you kept hidden because saying it felt uncomfortable. Not the apology you postponed because pride made it heavy. Not the story you never told because you assumed there would be another time. They will have what was actually lived. What was spoken. What was repaired. What was carried. What was healed. What was repeated. What was felt in your presence. And this is the deepest question of EP 40, before you disappear, what will remain? Because disappearance is not only death. Men disappear slowly too. Into silence. Into bitterness. Into habit. Into comfort. Into approval. Into old wounds. Into days that pass without being chosen. A man can be alive and already partly absent from his own life. He can sit with family but not be reachable. He can have wisdom but keep it trapped behind resentment. He can love deeply but leave others guessing. He can have regrets but choose pride over repair. He can have years left but live as if the meaningful part is already over. EP 40 is not asking you to fear the end. It is asking you to stop practicing absence before the end arrives. Picture a man standing in a dim hallway at night. A single warm light behind him. On the wall are framed photos from different decades. Children younger. Faces fuller. A wife or partner smiling in a season that cannot return exactly as it was. Friends who are now distant or gone. He studies the photos not as nostalgia, but as evidence. Life passed. It really passed. And now the remaining question is not, did I have time? The question is, what will I do with the time that still recognizes my name? Because one day, your presence will become memory. But today, while breath remains, your memory is still under construction. When you are gone, people may not remember your life the way you hoped. That is one of the humbling truths of legacy. They may forget many details. The exact hours you worked. The pressure you carried. The numbers you worried over. The problems you solved before anyone noticed. The sacrifices you made quietly. The times you said no to yourself so others could have enough. This can feel unfair. Because a man often remembers his life through burden. He remembers the weight. The effort. The private cost. The mornings he left before sunrise. The nights he came home with nothing left. The decisions no one thanked him for because they never saw the danger he prevented. But the people who remain may remember something different. They may remember the feeling of you. Did your presence make the room safer, or tense? Did your silence feel peaceful, or punishing? Did your strength feel protective, or unreachable? Did your advice feel like guidance, or judgment? Did your love feel available, or hidden behind duty? Did your home feel warmer because you were there, or more careful because you were there? This is not said to shame you. It is said because feeling becomes inheritance. Long after facts blur, emotional climate remains. Picture an adult child years from now standing alone in a room after your funeral. Afternoon light falls across the floor. Voices are softer than usual. Someone is sorting through old things. A watch. A notebook. A folded shirt. A photograph. And as they touch these objects, they are not only remembering what you did. They are remembering how life felt around you. Maybe they smile. Maybe they tighten. Maybe they feel gratitude. Maybe they feel unfinished questions. Maybe they feel both. Most legacies are mixed because most men are human. But the question is not whether your legacy will be perfect. It will not. The question is whether you are still willing to make it more conscious. Because today, you can still change the feeling. A softer response. A cleaner apology. A boundary without bitterness. A phone call made before distance becomes permanent. A sentence of love spoken without making the other person decode it. A truth told with humility. A room entered with presence instead of resentment. These things may seem small. But memory is built from small repeated emotional moments. You may think legacy is built from major achievements. Sometimes it is. But often, legacy is built from what people had to feel around you every day. This is why EP40 cannot only be about death. It must be about atmosphere. Because before you disappear physically, you still have the power to change the emotional climate you leave behind. A man after 50 may not be able to rewrite every old memory. But he can stop adding the same kind of weather. He can become warmer now. Clearer now. More reachable now. More honest now. Less defensive now. Less ruled by old wounds now. And maybe, when people remember him later, the memory will not be simple. But it may become more tender. Because somewhere near the end, he became more conscious of the feeling he was leaving behind. The things left unsaid do not always disappear. Sometimes they become heavier after you are gone. A love never spoken clearly. An apology never offered. A story never shared. A regret never named. A blessing never given. A truth never made gentle enough to be received. Men often delay these things because they feel uncomfortable. They think, they know. It would be awkward. There will be a better time. I do not want to open that door. I am not good with words. But after a man is gone, those excuses do not comfort the people left holding silence. They may know you loved them. But they may still wish they had heard it. They may understand you were under pressure. But they may still wish you had explained your heart. They may forgive you. But they may still wish you had asked. They may respect what you provided. But they may still wish they had known the man behind the role. Picture a son sitting in his car after the funeral. Rain touches the windshield softly. The parking lot is almost empty. He has heard kind words about his father all day. Responsible. Hardworking. Strong. Dependable. But inside, one sentence keeps echoing, I wish I had known what he felt. That is the weight of the unsaid. Not always because love was absent. Often because love stayed locked inside a man who did not know how to release it while time was still open. This is why EP40 must be direct. Do not leave your heart as a puzzle for people to solve when you are no longer here to help them. Say something now. Not everything. Not perfectly. Not dramatically. Something true. I love you. I am proud of you. I know I was hard to reach. I wish I had said more. I am sorry for the way I handled that. I want you to know who I really am. I hope you do not have to guess what you meant to me. These are not weak sentences. They are legacy sentences. They may feel late. Say them anyway. They may feel awkward. Say them anyway. They may not fix everything. Say them anyway. Because later, when the chair is empty, even imperfect words may become something precious. A man after 50 must understand that silence often protects him in the moment, but burdens others in the future. Maybe you stayed silent because emotion embarrassed you. Maybe because you did not want to look needy. Maybe because your own father never said those words. Maybe because vulnerability felt like losing authority. But perhaps real authority now is not hiding the heart. Perhaps real authority is giving the people you love enough clarity to carry when you are gone. Because one day, your voice may not be available. So while it is, use it for what matters. Pride can feel strong while you are alive. But when time is running out, pride can become a thief. It steals apologies. It delays phone calls. It keeps fathers and children distant. It keeps brothers silent. It keeps partners living beside each other but not fully reaching each other. It makes a man protect his image while his relationships quietly lose warmth. And perhaps the most painful part is that pride often disguises itself as dignity. A man says, "I will not beg. I will not be the first to call. They know where I am. I already did enough. If they cared, they would reach out." Sometimes boundaries are necessary. Sometimes distance protects sanity. Sometimes not chasing is wisdom. But sometimes pride simply does not want to feel vulnerable. And after 50, a man must learn the difference. Because if pride becomes the last thing people feel from you, it may not matter how much love was underneath it. They will still have to remember the wall. Picture an older man sitting at a small dining table at dusk. The room is quiet. A phone lies on the table. A name on the screen. A child he has not spoken to deeply in months. Maybe years. The relationship is not destroyed. But it has become thin. Functional. Polite. Pride says, wait. Love says, reach. Pride says, they should understand. Love says, make it easier to understand. Pride says, do not look weak. Love says, do not leave silence as your final message. This is the battlefield. Not out in the world. Inside the chest of a man who has more love than he knows how to express safely. EP 40 does not ask him to become desperate. It asks him to become honest. There is a difference between chasing people who repeatedly dishonor you and reaching toward people you love before pride turns distance into destiny. There is a difference between abandoning boundaries and softening arrogance. There is a difference between begging for approval and offering repair. And the wise man after 50 begins to know the difference. He does not apologize for things that were not his. But he does not hide from what is. He does not force closeness. But he opens a door where pride kept one locked. He does not make himself small. But he becomes human enough to say, I miss you. I wish we talked more. I do not want pride to be the reason we lose more time. That sentence can change a legacy. Maybe not instantly. Maybe not perfectly. But it changes what is offered. Because in the end, people may not remember every argument. But they may remember whether you softened before it was too late. And perhaps a man's final strength is not that he never bent. It is that he knew when love mattered more than pride. A man teaches through more than words. He teaches through repetition. Through habits. Through tone. Through what he tolerates. Through what he repairs. Through how he treats his body. Through how he handles disappointment. Through whether he becomes bitter or wiser. Through whether he keeps growing or simply keeps remembering. Even when he says nothing, his life is still instructing the people around him. This is one of the most powerful truths after 50, you are leaving lessons even when you are not trying to teach. Whether you mean to or not, your life is already preaching a final lesson. Every repeated reaction becomes curriculum. Every avoided repair becomes doctrine. Every act of courage becomes permission. Every surrendered habit becomes warning. Every softened pride becomes blessing. Every excuse becomes inheritance. This is what makes later life so powerful. A younger person may forget your speeches, but they may still build their adulthood around what your life repeatedly demonstrated. They may learn from your bitterness without wanting to. They may learn from your tenderness before they have language for it. They may inherit your fear, or your courage. Your resentment, or your repair. Your avoidance, or your presence. Because the final sermon of a man's life is often not spoken. It is lived, again and again, until someone else calls it normal. Your children learn from how you age. Your grandchildren learn from how you speak. Your partner learns from whether you become more reachable or more defended. Younger men learn from whether time made you smaller or deeper. Friends learn from whether pain made you generous or closed. People watch, even when they do not announce it. They watch how you respond when your body changes. They watch whether you keep promises to yourself. They watch how you handle being misunderstood. They watch whether you speak respectfully to people with less power. They watch whether you apologize. They watch whether you treat women, children, workers, strangers, and family with dignity when no audience rewards you. This is legacy in motion. Picture a grandfather in a workshop with a grandchild. Afternoon sunlight through dusty glass. Wood smell in the air. A small mistake happens. A tool drops. A measurement is wrong. The child freezes, waiting for the reaction. This tiny moment becomes instruction. Will the older man shame the mistake? Will he laugh with warmth? Will he teach patience? Will he model repair? Will the child learn that mistakes are survivable, or that mistakes threaten connection? The older man may forget the moment within a week. The child may carry it for years. This is how life teaches. Often in moments the teacher barely remembers. EP 40 asks a man to become conscious of this. Not paranoid. Conscious. Because if your life is teaching, then ask, what is it teaching now? That aging means surrender. That men do not apologize. That love stays hidden. That health can be ignored until crisis. That anger is authority. That silence is strength. That pride matters more than repair. Or is it teaching something better? That a man can change. That strength can become tenderness without losing dignity. That boundaries can exist without bitterness. That age can sharpen presence. That love can become clearer later in life. That repair is stronger than perfection. That the remaining years still matter. You may not control every lesson people take from you. But you can become more responsible for what your life repeats. Because repeated behavior becomes testimony. And testimony becomes memory. And memory becomes legacy. So before you disappear, consider what your life is teaching right now. Because someone may be learning from you, even in your silence. Many men spend their lives building things outside themselves. A career. A house. A business. Savings. A reputation. A structure that can be seen. These things matter. They can protect. Provide. Serve. Leave stability behind. But the things you build inside people may last longer. Confidence. Courage. Emotional safety. Discipline. A sense of being loved. A voice that tells them they can stand again. A memory of being treated with dignity. A model of repair. A picture of masculinity that does not require cruelty, silence, or emotional absence. These are inheritances too. Often the deepest ones. A house can be sold. Money can be spent. Objects can be lost. But the way you made someone feel about themselves may echo through their entire life. Picture an adult daughter facing a difficult moment years from now. A hospital hallway. Fluorescent lights. Her own child sick or afraid. She is exhausted. She does not know what to do. Then something rises in her memory. Not a speech. A tone. Maybe yours. A steady sentence you once repeated, breathe. Handle the next thing. Or maybe she remembers your hand on her shoulder. The way you did not panic. The way you made hard moments feel survivable. That is something you built inside her. And it remains. Or imagine the opposite. A son facing failure. He hears the old tone of criticism. He feels shame before he feels courage. He speaks to himself with a harshness he learned before he understood it. That too may be something built inside him. This is why legacy requires awareness. Because fathers, husbands, mentors, and older men do not only leave memories. They leave internal structures. Ways people speak to themselves. Ways they handle conflict. Ways they understand love. Ways they respond to weakness. Ways they define strength. After 50, a man can still build differently inside people. He can become a calmer voice. A clearer model. A safer presence. A source of courage rather than pressure. A memory that steadies rather than shames. This may begin with small acts. Encouraging without controlling. Correcting without humiliating. Listening without rushing to dominate. Admitting mistakes without collapsing. Showing affection without requiring a crisis. Letting younger people see that age can bring softness and power together. These things build. Quietly. Deeply. And one day, when you are not there, someone may still draw strength from what you placed inside them. That is legacy. Not only what is written in documents. What is carried in nervous systems. In values. In courage. In the way love becomes possible for another generation. So before you disappear, ask yourself, what am I building inside the people who will remember me? Fear, or courage? Pressure, or steadiness? Shame, or dignity? Distance, or warmth? Because what you build inside people may outlive everything else. Many men are remembered as hardworking. Responsible. Dependable. The kind who did what had to be done. There is honor in that. Work matters. Provision matters. A man who kept showing up deserves respect. But EP40 must say something difficult, do not leave only work behind. Do not let the only evidence of your love be exhaustion. Do not let your family inherit a man they respect, but never fully knew. Do not let your legacy be a paid-off house filled with people still wondering what your heart felt like. Because work can protect life, but it is not the whole of life. And many men after 50 begin to see this late. They spent decades working so others could live. But somewhere along the way, they stopped living in a way others could feel. They became necessary. But not always reachable. They became respected. But not always known. They became providers. But not always present. Picture a man returning home after years of long days. Night outside. Cold blue light from the driveway. He opens the door. The house is warm. Someone says hello from another room. He is tired. He nods. He sits. He says little. He tells himself this is sacrifice. And part of it is. But over years, if that is all they receive, the family may remember him as the man who was always working, always tired, always somewhere behind a wall of responsibility. This is the tragedy. A man can give everything materially and still leave emotional questions unanswered. So after 50, the invitation is not to devalue work. It is to complete it. Let provision become presence. Let responsibility become warmth. Let sacrifice become story. Let your family know not only what you did, but who you were while doing it. Tell them why you worked. Tell them what scared you. Tell them what you hoped for. Tell them what you learned. Tell them what you would do differently. Tell them what love looked like from inside your chest, not only from the outside of your labor. This matters because after you are gone, work cannot explain itself. The hours cannot speak. The paychecks cannot describe the heart. The house cannot say what you never said. Only memory can. And memory needs more than evidence of effort. It needs emotional access. So maybe the question is, will they inherit only the results of your work, or also the wisdom of your life? Will they know only that you carried weight, or also what carrying it taught you? Will they remember only your fatigue, or also your tenderness? There is still time to leave more than work. A letter. A conversation. A recording. A story. A blessing. A repaired relationship. A softer evening. A sentence that finally lets love become visible. Because a man is more than what he provided. But if he never reveals the rest, people may only have the provider to remember. And perhaps before you disappear, one of the most important things you can do is let them know. The man behind the work. Many men unconsciously turn later life into a waiting room. Waiting for health to change. Waiting for children to call. Waiting for retirement to become meaningful. Waiting for someone to notice them. Waiting for old pain to resolve itself. Waiting for the end without admitting they are waiting. The days become smaller. Routines repeat. The television gets louder. The body moves less. The world narrows. Not because life demanded total retreat. But because the man stopped asking anything of the years still available. EP40 must challenge this. Your final years, however many they are, should not only be a waiting room. They can still be a workshop. A repair room. A classroom. A place of blessing. A place of truth. A place of courage. A place where old patterns end before your life does. A place where younger people see what a man can become when he stops wasting himself on pride, approval, resentment, and delay. Picture a man at dawn. Gray light enters his bedroom. For a moment, he feels the old heaviness. The question, what is left? But instead of surrendering to it, he sits up. Feet on the floor. Breathes. The room is quiet. No one is watching. And he chooses one thing that makes the day matter. Then maybe two more. One thing for the body. A walk. Stretching. Strength. Movement that tells time, I am still participating. One thing for relationship. A call. A repair. A visit. A truth no longer postponed. Something that makes love more visible before memory has to carry it alone. And one thing for legacy. A page written. A lesson recorded. A family story preserved. A blessing spoken. A practical wisdom passed forward. Not someday. Now. This is how later life stops becoming a waiting room. It becomes a workshop of conscious remaining. A man may not control how many years are left, but he can still decide whether those years quietly disappear, or deliberately build what remains. A walk. A phone call. A page of memories written down. A drawer cleaned not because clutter matters most, but because order is a way of returning to life. A message to a child. A visit. A prayer. A practice. A decision not to let the day become only waiting. This is not small. Because the later years become sacred when a man uses them consciously. He may not have the energy of youth. He may not have endless options. He may not be able to build everything he once imagined. But he can still shape the feeling of what remains. He can still become more honest. More loving. More disciplined. more present, more generous, more free. He can still model what it looks like to age without surrendering the soul. This may be one of the greatest gifts older men can give, not pretending death is far away, but proving life is still present. Because younger people are watching. They need to see men who do not collapse into bitterness. Men who keep becoming. Men who repair. Men who speak love. Men who take care of the body they still have. Men who treat time like something sacred. Men who do not make aging look like disappearance. So do not let the final years become only a waiting room. Make them a testimony. Not loud. Not perfect. But unmistakable. A testimony that says, I was here until I was truly gone. One day, someone may miss you in a way that surprises them. It may not happen at the funeral. It may happen later. On an ordinary day. While making coffee. While fixing something you used to fix. While hearing a song. While driving past a place you once went together. While opening a drawer and finding your handwriting. Grief often arrives through small objects. A watch. A cap. A tool. A chair. A recipe. A note. A voice message. A phrase you used to say. And when they miss you, what will they reach for? Only objects? Or something deeper? Will they reach for your wisdom because you shared it clearly? Will they reach for your love because you made it felt? Will they reach for your courage because you modeled it? Will they reach for your repair because you showed them how to return after conflict? Will they reach for your discipline because your life proved change was possible? Will they reach for your faith, values, humor, patience, steadiness, or tenderness? This question matters because legacy should give people something to hold. Not only things to store. Picture an adult child years from now opening an old box. Late afternoon light. Dust floating in the air. Inside are pieces of you. A photo. A letter. An old notebook. Maybe a recording. Maybe nothing but ordinary objects. They sit there, holding what remains. What will those things say? Will the photo feel warm? Will the letter reveal what you never said aloud? Will the notebook carry wisdom? Will the object open a memory of safety? Or will everything feel like fragments of a man no one fully knew? This is why EP 40 asks for conscious leaving. Not dramatic preparation. Conscious leaving. Leave words. Leave stories. Leave blessings. Leave artifacts of your inner life. Not expensive things. Clear things. A handwritten letter. A voice recording. A notebook of lessons life taught you too late. A page for each child. A story your grandchildren would never otherwise hear. A blessing spoken directly into something that can outlive your body. These are not merely sentimental objects. They are bridges. Bridges between your physical absence and your emotional continuity. Because grief often reaches for anything that still sounds like you. And sometimes, one letter, one recording, one sentence, can steady someone years after your chair is empty. Do not assume they already know everything your heart carried. Leave them something clear enough to hold when memory shakes. Leave apologies. Leave lessons. Leave evidence of growth. Leave emotional clarity. Leave something that helps them carry you without only carrying confusion. Some men resist this because it feels sentimental. But it is not sentimental. It is generous. You are giving the people who love you something to hold when they can no longer hold you. A letter to your children. A short recording about what life taught you. A list of values you hope they remember. A story from your youth. A blessing for each child or grandchild. A message that says, if you ever miss me, remember this, these things matter. Because grief searches for connection. And if you leave nothing of your inner life, grief has to work harder. So before you disappear, ask, what can I leave that carries my heart more clearly than my silence did? Because one day, they may reach for you. And what you prepare now may meet them then. Before you disappear, become fully here. That is the final message. Not perfect. Not fully healed. Not without regrets. Fully here. Here in your body. Here in your words. Here in your relationships. Here in your time. Here in your love. Here in your responsibility. Here in your remaining choices. Because the tragedy is not only that a man dies one day. The tragedy is that some men leave long before they die. They leave through silence. Through resentment. Through habits. Through pride. Through approval seeking. Through postponement. Through emotional absence. Through the belief that it is too late to become different. But EP40 refuses that ending. If breath remains, participation remains. If time remains, repair remains possible. If the body can still move, a step remains possible. If the voice can still speak, a sentence remains possible. If the heart can still feel, love can still become visible. Picture a man standing outside at sunset. The sky is gold fading into deep blue. The air is cool. He is older now. No pretending otherwise. His face carries years. His body carries history. His hands carry work, mistakes, repairs, touch, absence, presence. He looks toward a house where warm light glows through the windows. Inside are people who may never understand him perfectly. People he may not have loved perfectly. People who carry parts of him already. And instead of withdrawing into regret, he chooses one more act of presence. He walks toward the light. Not as the man who has all the answers. Not as the man who needs approval. Not as the man who hides behind pride. As the man who understands now, what remains will be shaped by what I still choose. That is power after 50. Not control over death. Control over presence before death. You cannot decide how long everyone will have you. But you can decide how fully you offer what remains. You can decide not to leave only silence. Not only work. Not only tension. Not only unfinished pride. Not only objects without emotional meaning. You can leave warmth. Wisdom. Repair. A clearer voice. A body that kept participating. A love easier to feel. A standard younger men can learn from. A memory that says, he changed while he still could. Maybe that is enough. Maybe more than enough. Because one day, yes, you will disappear from the room. But before that day, you can stop disappearing from your life. You can stop postponing love. Stop protecting pride. Stop hiding tenderness. Stop letting later steal what only today can say. So ask yourself now, before I disappear, what must become visible? What love? What truth? What repair? What wisdom? What version of me still deserves to arrive? Because people will not only remember that you lived. They will remember what your living gave them. And while you are still here, that legacy is still in your hands. This season began with a question, now that you finally see clearly, what will you become before time runs out? And maybe the answer is not one dramatic reinvention. Maybe it is this, become present enough that what remains of you feels like truth. Become strong enough that your love no longer hides. Become free enough that your life no longer waits for permission. Become wise enough to leave more than proof you survived. Leave proof you became fully here.